Yes, being an introvert does come with its challenges. Don't get me wrong, I fully embrace it and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, but I have to admit that it's not without obstacles. A lot of the time, these obstacles that we face are so common among us introverts that it kind of feels like we're all living the same lives. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a major character trait that we all have as introverts that unfortunately sometimes can hold us back a little bit. Neglecting these can often slow our progress right down, so if I were you, I would stay till the end. Okay, it's pretty cold out here today, but welcome to another video. This is Santo's World, and today's video is going to be a relatable one. I feel like as introverts, we have specific character traits, and as a result, a lot of us go through the same things in life. We literally go through very similar scenarios. And if you're an introvert watching this, I guarantee you are going to relate to some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. And some of these things are actually things that hold us back quite a bit, and they can very much slow down our progress. And I know this because obviously I'm speaking from experience. It's happened to me. So yeah, I know for a fact that making some of these mistakes can definitely hold you back. But yeah, man, we're going to get straight into the video. And the first mistake that I'm going to talk about is actually the desire to do everything alone. I don't know, there's just something about doing things alone that is so calming and peaceful and stress-free. And as a result, sometimes, me personally, I kind of tend to choose to do things alone, even when I don't have to. Even when there's like systems put in place for me to get support, I would still avoid that support and end up doing everything alone. And I feel like for me, I preferred solitude because of the fact that I could always work in my own time, my own pace, and my own methods as well. And I had this issue back in school as well, to be fair, not just in school, even at work. Let's say back in school days, if a teacher's going through a topic and I don't necessarily understand the topic and how she explained it or he explained it, I wouldn't necessarily feel the need to speak up about it and say, oh, like, can you explain it one more time? That thought wouldn't even come into my mind. What I would do is I would just think, do you know what? When I get home, I'm gonna go on YouTube and I'm just gonna search it up and I'll find the answers anyways. Or like I'm gonna go through the textbook again when I'm home, so I don't need to be asking you to repeat yourself type of thing. And yeah, for me it started from school days. That's how I would sort of do. Most of my learning, to be fair, was actually independent learning. I think I've done most of my learning on YouTube, to be fair. And don't get me wrong, it did work. I was able to learn. I was able to still pick up the information. However, it would have been 10 times easier if I just asked for more support. Because you know what, yeah, there's been times where I actually did put my hand up and say, oh, do you know what, I don't understand that. And then when they re-explained it, it took me, I don't know, a minute to understand it straight away. Whereas my usual method, which is obviously to go home, watch YouTube videos and that sort of stuff, obviously that would take longer. I have to research and find out the right video. Or if I'm using a textbook, I have to kind of read it over and over again until I kind of understand it. Whereas had I just asked, it would have been explained to me in a way that I would understand. And I feel like for a lot of us introverts, that sort of need to be doing things alone, it doesn't only come from the fact that obviously it's peaceful and it's calming and you can work at your own pace. I think it also comes from the fact that we don't want to be a burden to anybody. We see other people helping us as us being a burden on them, when that's not necessarily true. In fact, it's probably not true at all. Because that's the thing, we actually help other people a lot. We're always ready to be there for them, but then we don't let them do the same for us. And that's the thing, when we're helping them, it doesn't feel like a burden. It actually feels good. Like, it actually feels good to help somebody else out. I think that's human nature. It kind of brings you joy to help somebody find a solution to something. And for me, that's what I had to learn. Sometimes people genuinely just want to help you, but I'm not allowing them because I feel like I'm going to be a burden and I want to be doing it all alone type of thing. When actually, this is going to sound weird, but me allowing them to help me is almost kind of doing them a favor because it makes them feel good about themselves. And I say this because sometimes when I'm trying to help somebody and they don't allow me to help them, it's kind of like, oh, like damn, I wish they allowed me to help them because I genuinely want to do it. So trust me, next time somebody offers to give you a hand, take it, because 9 times out of 10 they're not doing it for no reason. They're doing it because they actually want to help you, and it feels good for them to help you. And also, I know working alone can be comfortable but the more the merrier. The more hands you have, the more heads you have, the quicker the progress that you're gonna make. Imagine building a house and you're doing it as a lone builder. It's gonna take you ages to do that. However, if you have a whole team of people helping you build that house, it's gonna be a lot quicker. And that's the thing, every time you choose to take that comfortable, lonely route, all you're doing is basically just taking a detour. You're taking a longer route. When actually you can go from A to B in a straight line, you're choosing to, go around in circles and then get to point B. And that's the thing as well, we all have different strengths. So you choosing to do everything alone, you're very much limiting yourself because you're missing out on the qualities and the strengths that other people can bring in as well. And for me, obviously, I'm a videographer, so when I'm on a shoot and somebody has ideas that are different than mine, I don't just shut them down, or I don't just reject them without actually first deep in it and understanding their idea properly and thinking about whether it would actually work. And sometimes it does work. Sometimes I do think, ooh, that's actually a better idea than what I had originally. So we should probably go with that idea. So yeah, man, it's all about being open-minded. And if somebody extends a hand, don't reject it. Allow them to help you, and trust me, you are going to make much quicker progress than you are if you do everything alone. The second thing that I want to talk about is only letting your work speak for you. Now, I think this one relates to creators a lot more, or creatives, because as introverts, sometimes we're reluctant to promote ourselves or to gas ourselves up and boost ourselves, and we'd rather just let the work do all the talking, which sounds great, to be fair. Like, it does sound good. You don't have to boast about your work and what you do and your abilities. You just let the work do the talking for you. It sounds great, but it can actually hold you back. That's the thing, everything is about appearances. If you've got a potential client in front of you and you've got one videographer who seems very confident about his abilities and what he can do, and one who is kind of reluctant or seems unsure of himself, I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna go with the videographer that gave them more reassurance that they could actually take on the work that they need. And that's the thing, you might actually be better than that videographer, but they're not gonna go for you because, like I said, it's all about perception and how you look in front of others. And to be fair, this doesn't only apply to creatives. If you've got a 9-to-5 job and you want a promotion, and let's say it's between two candidates, you and somebody else, if the other candidate seems very eager, he seems very sure that he can take on the work, that he can take on the extra responsibility, and that he really wants to do it, then chances are, even though you might be a better fit, they might give the role to that other person, just because your unwillingness to kind of back yourself and boost yourself up a little bit has made them think that you're maybe unsure, or that the other person is more sure that they can do it, so it must mean that they'll be a better fit. When obviously that's not necessarily true. You might actually be the better fit. And I get it, sometimes boasting about your abilities and all that stuff, it just feels like it doesn't feel, I don't know how to explain it, but it just doesn't feel great. And obviously I'm not saying you should do it all the time, because then you just turn into a, you know what, but sometimes it's cool to do it. Like, you don't always have to be the humble person. Sometimes you're allowed to just back yourself and say, yeah, like, I can do this. The third thing that I want to talk about is actually discomfort with visibility. Now, what I mean by that is, as introverts, sometimes we want to kind of blend into the background. Like, you just want to go about your day, have a peaceful day, no stress, go from A to B, come back, and it's all well and good. Like, you don't really seek attention or want to be at the center of attention, which is fine, to be fair. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to be at the center of attention. But the issue is, when you never want to do it, it can hold you back quite a bit. And the reason I say this is because, speaking from experience, sometimes there are moments at work where there might be an opportunity to do something. However, in doing that thing, it will require me to, let's say, do a presentation or like lead a training session. You get the point. Like, all those things would require you to be at the center of attention, because everyone is looking at you, everyone is listening to what you're saying, and it just feels uncomfortable. And yeah, there's times where initially I'll be like, I don't want to do that part, to be honest. But that's the thing, if you don't do those things, you're always going to be in the background. You're never going to be noticed. And essentially you're not going to progress. And for me, how I deal with that, to be honest, is I just say yes, I'll do it, and then worry about it later. Like, there's been so many times where I'd say yes to something and I'm thinking, oh gosh, like I'm dreading it, I don't want to do it. And I spend the next few days or so just thinking, oh, I can't wait to just be over and done with it. And then when I'm actually in the middle of doing it, I realize, oh, this is not even that bad. This is actually pretty chill. I've just not done something like this before, so it still feels kind of uncomfortable. And that's the thing, being so visible and at the center of attention can feel so uncomfortable for us that we might even pass up some opportunities because they require us to be at the center of attention. And I feel like that's a shame, to be fair, because some people have the qualities, they have the talent, the knowledge, the experience to do certain things, but they might not do it just because there's that one obstacle, which is for them to be at the center of attention. And as a result, they pass up the opportunity and somebody else takes it, even though they're not as talented, they're not as knowledgeable or as skilled as you, but they're doing it because they don't mind being at the center of attention. So yeah, please, what I will say is, if you get in a position where you do have an opportunity, but it will require you to be at the center of attention, don't let the intimidation make you pass it up. Just say yes in that moment and then worry about it later. Literally, that's the only thing you should be thinking about, is saying that initial yes. And then the rest, you can do your overthinking later. Just say yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Just say yes, and then you'll be fine. The next thing that I want to talk about that I feel like can sometimes hold us back as introverts is actually avoiding small talk. I know small talk can be uncomfortable and it can sometimes feel fake and inauthentic, but it's kind of necessary. Small talk is like the first little barrier that you encounter, which you obviously have to break down before, you can actually make a connection with somebody, make a friendship, a relationship. And yeah, without that sort of first initial small talk, it's kind of hard. And I get it, sometimes you meet some people where you don't need to do any small talk, you just kind of click straight away. But that's pretty rare. And it also only happens at the right time with the right circumstances. And obviously, you can't always ensure that. So you might actually be missing out on very valuable connections because you're avoiding that small talk. Or you can actually miss out on opportunities, because sometimes I've had situations where I'm talking to a stranger and then they're telling me, obviously we start with doing small talk or whatever, and then they tell me about their life, things they've done, and there's times where I kind of learn a few things from them in that moment, which I take away with me. There's actually been times where, I made small talk with somebody like, 5-10 years ago, and what they said, it still sticks to me till this day, and I still make decisions based on that thing that they told me. Because let's say, they're older and they've made a mistake. Obviously, you don't want to make that same mistake, so when they tell you, you're going to remember. But maybe had you not had that conversation, you would have made those same mistakes that same person did. So yeah, small talk can be uncomfortable, but there's actually a lot of value in small talk. I feel like people underestimate how much value you can get out of just making small talk, especially for introverts as well. I feel like we value deep relationships a lot more, and we don't tend to have many acquaintances or random friendships that we made, at the club or something, or some event that we went to. We don't tend to do that, especially for me. For example, I only keep in contact with people who I feel like I have deep connections with. Like, if you went through my phone, you wouldn't really see me having conversations with people that I have a superficial relationship with. Unless obviously it's about work, then cool. But I wouldn't randomly DM somebody that I met at an event and say, hey, it was good to see you the other day or something like that. It's just not what I would do. But at the same time, doing that can actually open doors for you. That cliche that everyone says, it's not about what you know, but who you know. I think that's how it goes. It's not about what you know, but who you know, I think. But anyways, who you know, who you make connections with is very important. And if you're not willing to have those superficial relationships, it can actually hold you back a little bit. You can sometimes wonder, why is it that I'm so great at this? However, that person is average, but they're getting 10 times more opportunities than I am. And the simple reason for that is because that person puts themselves out there. They speak to people, they talk to people, they make connections. And sometimes these superficial connections, they turn into deep relationships. You actually never know what will come out of you interacting with somebody. So definitely don't completely shut yourself off from those superficial relationships or from doing any kind of small talk. Be open-minded to it, and trust me, somewhere along the way, you're gonna see how that will actually benefit you. So yeah, next time you go into like a public space, drop the headphones, don't make yourself look unapproachable. Be open-minded and see what happens. And yeah, guys, I feel like these are one of the biggest mistakes that we make as introverts that really hold us back, and they hinder our progress, they slow us down, but we don't have to let them do that. I'm not saying make a big 360 change just from watching this video. However, if you can make a little change, or maybe tomorrow you can try something different, you can try and talk to somebody new. You can try and ask somebody for help on a project maybe, or actually try to collaborate with somebody instead of doing something by yourself. Just something small, like a small change, and then just see how that turns out. Because I feel like 9 times out of 10, it's actually gonna turn out great and it's gonna teach you a lesson. Obviously, watching this video is giving you game, telling you those things. However, when you actually experience it yourself, it reinforces it even more, and you realize, oh, to be fair, it's true, especially for me as well. Every time, let's say, I have asked somebody for help, it's benefited me. I won't lie, it's actually benefited me quite a bit, more than doing things by myself. And I was only able to actually believe this when I started doing it and I started seeing the results of actually making that little change. So that's what's really gonna drive it home for you, is you actually putting it into practice. But yeah, I hope you were able to get some value out of this video. I hope you're able to learn some new things about yourself and that you're going to apply them to your life. And obviously, if you did learn something, if you did find value in it, then you already know what to do. Hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.